Hey, Lainey, my medical debt won't show up. My credit history, will it?
I got some bad news for you, Uncle Warren, and more coming up on the Undercurrent. How
Action.
you doing?
Action. So you're much better at that. You're much better at that tossing to me, and then I'd go, "Hey, buddy." That's why you'll never see me on Dancing with the Stars. Good
It's
afternoon,
Wednesday.
everyone. Good evening. Good morning.
Good morning,
I think we
wherever
covered the
you are.
bases. Somewhere along the way, we managed to stumble upon this show. We hope you're doing well. We have some news for you. I want to
A
say
lot of
hello.
news, actually.
Yeah, we got it is a cornucopia of information because we carried it in this big cone. It's really cool. It's heavy. It was a lot of news.
A
Uh,
lot of news.
we
All
got
kinds of news.
Chuck's in the house. Chuck's Intergalactic UFO show.
He
UFO show.
is. And I saw Kate and I saw Miguel.
Yes, good to see
And
him.
we got some folks. Whew, I didn't mean to say it that way. I got some folks over on Instagram as well. By the way, if you are watching on Instagram, do please keep in mind that your comments do not show up in our main chat over here. So I will go back and forth to check them. But if it seems like somebody's not responding to you, that's what's going on. CBC Voter is in the house. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, to make sure we get our chat on here. Let's see. Let's see if we can make it a little bit bigger. A little bigger. There we go. All right. There we go. They always they add these new things to StreamYard. Every time you log on to it, it's like, hey, you like this
Something
stuff?
new and shiny. New and shiny.
Hey, look what I got for you, buddy. And you're like, okay, all right, I need an adult. And yeah, so
We
uh
seem to be short on those, Uncle Warren.
in more ways than one, for sure.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, we're on YouTube and Rumble. We're also on Facebook and we're on Instagram. So hello to the
At my
Instagram
account.
people.
Yeah.
That's if you're on Laney's account there. Hello, Laney's account on Instagram. Hope you're
Absolutely. And also, I just put into the main chat, a chat on both ends, our link tree, so you can figure out where to find us.
yes. We're slowly expanding everywhere. Our roots are taking into the ground everywhere. You know, that's how trees talk to each other. They talk to each other through their roots.
Root systems, yeah.
Yeah, like all their communication and stuff.
Kind of like all these USB cords and everything around here.
They all just snake together. And then you put it in, and you're like, damn it, you twist it, you put it in, damn it, it was right the first time. You put it back in, and it laughs at you because it knew it was right the first time. Jerks, jerky cables. All right, what are we doing here? Do we got stuff? We do
We
have
got
stuff.
plenty of
Well,
stuff.
folks, it was my fault last week with the audio. I didn't have a certain button checked, and that was a no. But this week we're getting Warren is getting his poop together. Okay, get my poop together. I promise you. Let's turn that on this time. Okay, where it says share audio. Okay, all right. Okay. All right. So with there was election in New York City. Well, it's an election day across the country, I believe, right? Do any
It was.
elections down by your neck of the woods?
I didn't. I don't know. I wasn't paying any attention. Electoral politics really don't interest me.
Yeah, me neither. The only reason, you know, it used to, but it doesn't anymore because we know
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah.
But you know, in when you know it's a clown show or a clown car show or a car show with clowns, you know there's clowns involved. And so you treat it as such, and so you keep an eye on it. Willie Bragg in the house. What's up, Willie?
Hey, Willie.
Yeah, Willie over there
Good to see
rocking
you.
and
And thank you for your shout out on X over there. That was very much appreciated. We appreciate you.
Willie knows what's up. Willie's all about sharing and caring. In this space, we love sharing out his stuff too. Make sure you, Willie, you got a show later today, don't you? I think you do. Talking about the death of the Sith Lord. We'll get to that coming up for us.
Oh, yeah.
The Sith Lord. All
Do
right.
you have any shotgun pellets in your body, Uncle Warren?
Oh no, it's already begun.
Ah.
The really shot to the face jokes. Are we going back there? He can't now. He got his ultimate shot in the face. My God. All right, we'll get to him shortly. He's coming, don't worry. You bastard. But we gotta add this to the stage. This is what's happening. Guess what? Zoran the Magnificent wins New York City Mayor. And is this Miki? I think it's Miki Cheryl wins New Jersey Governor. There's Miki on the right there. That's Zohan on the left. He looks like that guy from The Big Bang Theory. Remember the guy, the little dude with the black hair? What was his name?
No, I never watched it.
What? How dare you? I think the character's name was Leonard. Anyway, that's just a side note. It's unimportant at this place and time. Zoran Mamdani has been elected mayor of New York City, defeating former governor and House troll Andrew Cuomo and Republican Curtis Sliwa, whoever that was. I guess
that was the Guardian Angels.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay, that's his street cred. Okay, cool. I just thought they just threw in a name for a Republican token. Usually it's a Republican token for these things. With the victory, the Democratic Socialist will etch his place in history as the city's first Muslim mayor, the first of South Asian heritage, and the first born in Africa. He will also become the city's youngest mayor in more than a century when he takes office January 1st. Democratic U.S. Representative Miki Sherrill, or Mikey, has been elected governor of New Jersey. Yay! That's like saying you've become manager of the toxic waste dump. The four-term member of Congress centered her campaign on her biography as a Navy helicopter pilot and former prosecutor who would stand up to President Donald Trump. Okay. She will be New Jersey's second female governor, but not in a row.
Okay.
And that is the biggest shame of all. You couldn't make it a twofer. Ciattarelli lost his second straight governor's election after coming within a few points of defeating Governor Phil Murphy 4 years ago. Yeah. So Zoran the Magnificent. As I told you during our before the show began, that oh wait, I didn't do my little thing here. I'm gonna have this on. Yeah, like I told you, he's gonna be like Brandon Johnson here in Chicago, right? He's gonna be he's going to have nominal success, as somebody who's brand new and fresh on the scene, but he's going to have to deal with that New York City Council, right? Just as Chicago has to deal with the Chicago City Council, and why a lot of things won't. And that's just Mr. Pessimist in me, but I know I lived there for 15 years. I kind of know what that city's like. If you go against the machine. If you rage against the machine, TSK.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I always kind of supported a moderate Republican in the Illinois governor chair, just to counteract the Chicago machine. We had some pretty good Republican governors. Jim Thompson, Jim Megler. But things got weird.
I guess it really depends on what your priorities are, what you're trying to achieve. I mean, at that time, uh, I think maybe people wanted a balance of somebody who was more on the left leaning side, maybe to be one branch, while the other to be somewhat right leaning. And now it's just all like team sports, right? It's got to be all one thing, or it's nothing. You're not going to have any people working together. It's all this division. You think that's sewn in pretty good?
Um, yeah, I think that needs to become more rigid, and I think it also doesn't address the entrenchment of that democratic machine. That if you don't have the clout, things don't get done. If you do, then things do get done.
Mhm.
And I'd like to see us see that open.
Yeah, I think you're going to see some virtue signaling at first, but then when it comes down to brass tacks and he actually starts trying to do stuff like give people free train rides, that's when they're like, whoa, 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 buddy, whoa there, free train. I look, flowers at the airport. Yeah, that's great, but free train rides. We can't be doing that. So speaking of poor infrastructure in New York, I noticed this too. In the last several years, there's been some powerful storms that have hit the Northeast. Not necessarily your Sandy type stuff, but still some big storms, and a lot of this infrastructure is just going to waste. So this is from AOL. Into that sort of thing. Dad of 5 and another man die in flooded New York City basements during record-breaking rainfall. And yeah, let's see. I'm not available. Okay. So 2 men are dead after they became trapped in flooded basements when New York City was barraged by a flood of rain on Thursday last week. One man from Brooklyn tried to save his dog but couldn't escape the room. Roads and subway stations through the metro area were impacted by the severe weather. 2 men died after basements flooded in New York City during record-breaking rainfall. So this was at Thursday, 4:20 local time. Police responded to a 911 call or a 911 call and learned a man had been trapped in the basement. Is he trapped there? Was the door shut? A lot of those basements, there's just one entrance and one.
There's just one entrance.
Yeah, at King, located in Flatbush neighborhood of Brooklyn. He was rescued by divers from the New York City Fire Department and rushed to a nearby hospital where he died. Spokesperson for the NYPD told People in a statement. The man's neighbor, Renee Phillips, told the New York Times that he'd rescued one of his dogs from the basement, went back for the second one. Instead, he became trapped, and both he and the dog died. This day has been horrific, Phillips told the Times. And then later that same afternoon, officials responded to another call for help in Washington Heights, a northern Manhattan neighborhood. When they arrived, police learned a 43-year-old man was inside of a flooded boiler room within the basement when he became unconscious and unresponsive. After his body was recovered, he was pronounced dead on the scene. The man was later identified as Juan Carlos Montoya Hernandez. So investigations of both deaths are ongoing. They had no further details to share. They lived in a small room in the building's basement for at least a decade. That was Hernandez. So, yeah, and this is a testament to two things. It's a testament to poor infrastructure that's not acclimating to an obviously changing climate situation, right? And now you can argue about what's the the cause of it, if it's more man-made or if it's more natural. Either way, it's still happening, and And that means that deny it or not, you better acclimate to it. Otherwise, you're not going to, you're not going to survive it. They're like those two people in their basements. That shouldn't have happened.
Well, it does happen. And by the way, I don't we're getting an echo.
We're getting an echo.
Hey, Ellen. Yeah. I'm hearing it when I'm talking, and then Stephanie is also mentioning it. But what I did want to mention is that a lot of people are not aware of how quickly floods can happen. I've actually seen video of this happening. There was a flood. I mean, there was a woman and her son in the basement 1 second, and then the water, it was like 5 feet of water within a matter of seconds. It happens. It was happening like that. And people don't realize that it's not like a slow creep.
Right.
It's very, very fast. Same thing with fires, by the way. House fires, kitchen fires, they can happen extremely fast and they spread very fast. So people also need to be aware that when there's a risk of flooding, you want to get humans and dogs and anything you want out of that basement and get yourselves out of that basement, because that can happen very quickly and you can get trapped.
Yeah, and it goes, and that talks about the severity of these storms too. A lot of times, you get rain, but you wouldn't get like this tropical kind of rain that they seem to be getting the last several years. It really kind of started with Sandy. When Sandy hit, you had this, and what Sandy was two different, I think it was two storms, and they combined in the same point there. And it might as well have been the force of a hurricane, because it had high winds, and then you had storm surge as well. That's what doomed lower Manhattan. That's where all the generators and stuff are down there, and all those were underwater. And that's another thing too. I don't know if they learned their lesson from Sandy when it came to that kind of stuff, what they're going to be doing with to keep the lights on, because they were out good month or so. Lower Manhattan was out of power, and it was, that's the thing, but that costs money, Lainey, and people don't want to spend that money.
And they don't want to invest in they're kicking the can on down the road, which is the usual thing that humans tend to do.
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, we won't have to, we're in our 70s. We won't have to deal with this much longer. And that's a horrible thing, because, yes, there are other generations that are coming along that will have to deal with all this nonsense. And even if they try to change it to something much better, it'll take a while to reverse all the damage that's been done. But fortunately, one damage that, unless you have the technology to reanimate dead tissue, will not be done is that this guy is this is gone.
Oh Lord. Yeah.
You guys still hear an echo now?
No, it was just me. Chuck says it was fixed. And hey there, Ellen. Ellen gave me an idea for one of our stories today. So shout out to Ellen, who's joining us on Facebook.
That's right. What's up, Ellen? She's the Facebook hammer over there. Okay, good. I think I know what it was. There was some on my end, but I changed a little something, so I think it'd be good. So we can celebrate death the way you like it. I don't really celebrate people's deaths.
No, neither do I. But
it's some people, you're kind of glad that they passed on from this mortal coil and aren't doing any more damage. But at the same time, that's don't praise them, don't hate them, just let them go. And that's Dick Cheney. He died at 84 years old, Lainey.
Yeah, he did. I remember somebody once said to me that they thought of Bush as the president and Cheney was the CEO, which I thought was a interesting way of putting things.
Well, yeah, he did. He worked for his daddy too. So, that's probably what Daddy said. He goes, he probably said something like, "Now you make sure he doesn't do anything stupid, okay? You're gonna be in charge. He says he's the president, but you're really in charge. Yeah.
And he said to Bush, he said to his son, "Now you be nice to that nice Mr. Cheney, and and we'll all be good." Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Dick Cheney kicked the bucket. 84. The passing of the Republican politician who was deputy to President George W. Bush from 2001 to 2009 was announced in a statement released by his family on Tuesday. His beloved wife of 61 years, Lynn, his daughters, Liz and Mary, and other family members were with him as he passed, the statement said, adding that he died due to complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease. Well, he was on it was like his third heart or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, like he had multiple open heart surgeries, stuff like that.
Yeah. Dick Cheney was a great and good man who taught his children and grandchildren to love our country and to live lives of courage, honor, love, kindness, and fly fishing, the family said. Ha ha ha, just kidding. Only fly fishing was true. However, I added that last part for humor.
What about hunting?
Oh yeah. What about this place called Iraq and all these innocent people? However, Cheney was a highly divisive political figure. Oh, really? But I thought he was the fly fishing guy. What happened with that? For many in the U.S. and around the globe, having pushed the boundaries of the vice presidency to lead the Bush administration's so-called war on terror, I remember that, and its misdirected invasion of Iraq. Cheney was among the most outspoken of Bush administration officials, warning in the run-up to the 2003 conflict of the danger from Iraq's alleged stockpile of weapons of mass destruction. Spoiler alert, no such weapons were ever found. Despite this, Cheney has insisted that the invasion was the right decision based on the intelligence at the time, him being the intelligence, and noting that it led to the removal of Iraqi President Saddam Hussein from power, leading to a power vacuum that to this day still haunts the people of Iraq. So yeah, and there's more here, but we ain't gonna talk about him.
Yeah.
We know the thing. We know about all us oldies. We know about Cheney, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, he didn't he was not loved. And now they're trying to normalize Bush, the whole Bush and what's her face? Michelle Obama picture, the huggies, and he gave her candy. He gave her candy. Doesn't that make up for everything when you give somebody candy at a funeral? Or is that only in Lifetime television movies? I can't remember. I can't remember how that works. Okay, we got one more for you here. This is from Israel. You've heard that. Yeah, it's a place where people live. Israeli Knesset advances bill to expand state control over the media. Uh-oh. I thought they already had control.
Where have I heard that before?
HMM, stroke beard. The Israeli Knesset parliament. You got to put in parentheses. Shout it out. The Israeli Knesset approved a bill in preliminary reading yesterday that would grant the government greater control over the country's media sector. You guys are telling too much truthies over there. You guys, you sons of bitches, bastards. According to a Knesset statement, the draft law introduces comprehensive reforms in the field of broadcast regulation, most notably by creating a single new regulatory authority, one to rule them all, to replace both the cable and the satellite broadcasting council, and the second authority for television and radio. 54 Knesset members voted in favor of the bill, while 47 opposed it, the statement said, so it's kind of close. Under Israel's legislative system, a bill must pass 3 readings before becoming law, and then they must say an incantation and pour salt in a ring. Wait, what? The Israeli public broadcaster can Citing analysts warn that although the bill is presented as a step toward liberalizing the media sector, it may grant the government increased influence over news content, posing a long-term political and legal challenge to media independence. See, when the government gets their sticky little fingers into the mix, into your free public, TV, that's no good. Israel is among the countries with the strictest controls over the press enforced through. I thought it was the democracy of the Middle East, with the strictest controls over the press enforced through a system known as military censorship, a set of laws and regulations allowing the army and security services to block publication of any material deemed harmful to national security. There he is. Whenever you see that, it's a drinking game. Don't get too drunk because you will, but they will bring up national security all the time, or revealing of sensitive information. Basically, if you're saying shit that we don't like, right?
Yeah.
That's
Or like that
what it is.
IDF attorney who, leaked that video of the rape and torture of a Palestinian prisoner and went missing and has now been arrested.
Right. Got arrested for leaking, for whistleblowing, basically.
Yeah.
Not
This is an
for the
IDF attorney. Yeah.
not the person who committed the acts.
Yeah.
The person who
released.
actually leaked it.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
what happens.
And that's another scare tactic. They don't want you to blow the whistle. Shh. You'll end up like this guy. You don't want to do that. Yeah.
Or in this case, it was a woman, but yeah.
Yeah, they'll just that's all they'll do is they'll just try and scare you, because they know there's too many people that have camera, they're using the cameras on their phones to record stuff. So they try to scare you into thinking that, oh, you're going to break the law if you do this. No, you're not. They're lying. But then it's like, well, how can they lie about that? Well, they can lie. They can propagandize now, right? Didn't Obama pass something to where now the government can propagandize, I think, or something to that effect?
That sounds familiar, and I'd have to look into it, though. It does. I don't want to say anything, so it does sound familiar, but I don't recall the details.
I promise I didn't make it up, folks. I tend to do things, but only for fun stuff, not for stuff that's important.
I'll look it up. Maybe we'll do it next week.
Yeah, it's like something where some people are allowed to that the government can use propaganda or something. That happened in 2012. Yeah, that was under Obama.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Chuck knows. Chuck was floating around in space.
He was. He keeps an eye on things for us.
Yeah, he's up there. He knows what I'm talking about. So yeah, that was the Riptide. The Smith, yeah, what was it? The Smith, oh, I'm sorry. The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. Right. It's basically, and I'm totally TLDRing it here, that the government can propagandize.
Yeah. Well, I'll report on that. We'll put it in the press pool next week. I'll do an update on that.
You say that just like you said we were going to stop for candy, and that didn't stop either. I mean, that didn't happen. What happened?
I'll be bringing candy. I'm going to be in Chicago this weekend. I'll bring you candy, Uncle Warren.
Everybody says they're bringing candy.
I'll bring candy.
We're bringing you the catch of the day right now. Oh no! Look, there's words and stuff.
There is. And we have a lot of words on this, and it is something that it's been something that I've been concerned about for a long time. I used to report on it on Civically Minded all the time, and this is another example of how a regulatory agency, the regulatory state that it was designed to protect the public, can now be weaponized against the public. So many people are aware that we have a very interesting phenomenon here in the United States, and that's this thing called medical debt. Most developed countries have some kind of a national healthcare, universal healthcare program. We don't. And what can happen is people go into debt for medical procedures. And in some cases, the debt is not particularly intentional because people are working with their insurance companies, and insurance companies are notorious for delaying paying out claims, even if they've approved them, or suddenly pulling back on approval, or a hospital will pull in, say, an anesthesiologist who is not covered under the person's insurance network. So the bill is, they get, yeah, this very surprise bill at the end of their medical treatment or the end of their stay, and the person can't afford it. Or again, the insurer, the third party insurer, just drags their feet about paying things. And the provider, whether it is a physician, a clinic, or say a hospital, is sending the bill. The individual can't pay it or is not going to pay it because the insurance company is supposed to handle this. And eventually that bill gets written off or sent to a collection agency where it is reported on that individual's credit report. And that brings down their credit score. That can help, can in some cases keep them from getting a job, finding a place to live, getting credit, getting a loan. We all know what can happen. It can affect your insurance rates. It has your credit score has a very all-encompassing impact on your life. And so what had happened was that people were starting to get upset about medical debt because people usually don't have a lot of control over whether they need medical care or not. And because of that, people did not feel that it belonged there along with a regular credit card purchase. If, let's say, somebody defaulted on a credit card or was late paying their credit card for makeup or a vacation, that medical debt should not be treated the same. So the three major credit reporting bureaus in the U.S., Equifax, TransUnion, and oh, good Lord, the other one escapes me right now, but they'd stopped reporting any medical debt $500 or under. But a larger medical debt was still being reported on people's credit reports. Some states were going in and saying, I think it was an Obama era directive, that where some states were putting their own restrictions on the reporting of medical debt, saying, hey, you want to do business in our state, this is what you can put on somebody's credit report. And this was permitted under the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Well, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has now come out with a statement saying, no, the states cannot put this kind of restriction. They must default to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which is a federal regulation. So the states have been defanged in their ability to restrict the reporting of medical debt.
Right. And now you're probably going to see a whole avalanche of people getting affected by this, especially if they're even trying to borrow minor amounts of money too, right?
Or that's not even trying to borrow. They may be trying to get an apartment. They may be trying to get a job. And they can turn around and say, look, what's on the report, what's pulling down my score is medical debt, but it's not going to necessarily move a landlord or a car dealership or a hiring manager. And so it's rather insidious to see the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was established supposedly to protect consumers and their financial health. We saw it get really defanged during the first Trump administration. It came back to more consumer advocacy during the Biden administration, but now it's just been pulled back again, and it is preempting the states from protecting their own residents.
Yeah.
And this is what happens with any of these regulatory agencies. We'll talk more about that with SNAP coming up. But this is the sort of thing that can happen to folks. People do need to understand that just because an insurance company approves a procedure or somebody appears to be a network, it does not compel the insurance company to act quickly. They may try to deny the claim. They may, they may mess up the codes. There's all kinds of things that insurance companies will do to drag their feet, and to understand that the provider of the medical services, they're the ones who are they're the creditor, and they don't necessarily have to wait around for a third party insurance company to throw the patient, the consumer, to the wolves. And what is also insidious about this for me is that you're dealing here with people who are often sick, or their family members who are caregivers and exhausted from caring for a sick person. And this is just one more kick in the head
Hmm.
for these folks. And
Yeah.
again, why treat medical debt the same as you would other kinds of consumer debt when you're trying to establish creditworthiness? Medical debt, frequently the person did not ask for this, they did not try to create this, and oftentimes the person's unconscious when this debt is being racked up. I mean, you have somebody who's been in a car accident, an ambulance comes out to get them. They're taken in. You have doctors and nurses who are not waiting around for their consent if this person's, unconscious.
Right.
This happens all the time. You don't get to direct your care. You don't get
No.
to direct what you're being charged for. It's not like you're going out and buying a handbag and some lipstick. So
Yeah.
it's not the same situation here, and it is truly mind-boggling that we have an aging population. We've got a caregiver crisis in this country because of declining birth rates, and we're just going to make things that much more difficult for people. So again, I would ask people to please do keep in mind that the health insurer is a third party, that and ultimately your medical debt is between you and the provider, so that you understand how that happens. I would also ask you to keep a couple of things in mind. If you have your insurance through your workplace, HR or your benefits department may be able to help advocate for you. Sometimes sometimes your benefits package may include a healthcare advocate. They actually have these third-party services that specialize in this kind of thing to advocate on your behalf. Check to see if that's been made available to you. Do continue to monitor your credit reports. You can do that for free online. Um, and if you see things, you need to challenge them. You can challenge what's on your credit report. And if you say that it's medical debt or it's something that the insurance was supposed to pay, you have to, can and should and remain on that. If you have friends and family who are willing to help you out, this would be something you can ask them to help you out with, whether it's waiting on hold for somebody to talk to or to look at what's going on with your credit reports. That can be incredibly helpful. One final thing. Many hospitals or healthcare systems do have ombudsman offices, financial ombudsman. This is a separate channel within the institution that can sometimes cut through red tape when it comes to medical billing and collections. You can ask for that information and see what you can do to work things out with them so things are not put on your credit report. But this is insidious. And keep in mind also, your credit report and the credit bureaus are not TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. That's all three of them. They are not government agencies. Okay,
Mm-mm.
They're private organizations, and they get their money from people who report on people's credit or who check people's credit. They get some money from consumers, but that's not their main consumer. So they're out to serve issuers of credit.
Right.
They're out, and they're not out there to serve you, the consumer. And
No,
you need to
and
keep that. Yeah.
that's wild, too, that you haven't have a good credit score in order to get a job. They can that's you're gonna get like a vicious cycle there. People just gonna have,
Yeah.
they're good workers, they just can't, maybe they have a poor score for some reason, and now they can't work to make that score better,
Yeah.
because they
O-
can afford.
Or landlords and property managers. Hey, spirit of the age, good to see you. Or property managers
What's
or
up?
landlords. You know, you may have a person who has paid their rent on time every month. They may have some other financial issues, but they prioritize their housing. But that's not necessarily going to be reflected in a credit score. And the person might be able to say, look, I can put you in touch with all my previous landlords. I can show you all the checks and all the, all the, or the Zelle payments or whatnot, show this, but that may not appease that person. So it can become a vicious cycle. In this case,
Yeah.
it's really sad to see that there's this one very moderate protection is being stripped from the states.
Well, thanks for that, Lainey. Now it's time to catch up on stories we've been talking about uh, on the recurring tide here, and of course, we've been talking about ICE. ICE is ever present, isn't it?
Ever present.
That's what they want you to. I think that's what they want you to get used to.
Yeah.
So, the FBI warns of criminals posing as ICE, urges agents to identify themselves. Uh-oh. Say that you got cute wearing the little bandito on your face there, but criminals posing as U.S. immigration officers have carried out robberies, kidnappings, and sexual assaults in several states, warns a law enforcement bulletin issued last month by the FBI. The Bureau urges agencies to ensure officers clearly identify themselves and to cooperate when civilians ask to verify an officer's identity, including by allowing calls to a local police precinct. Ensure law enforcement personnel adequately, identify themselves during operations and cooperate with individuals who request further verification, it says. First reported by Wired, the bulletin cites 2025 incidents involving fake immigration officers and says criminals are using ICE's heightened profile to target vulnerable communities, making it harder for Americans to distinguish between lawful officers and imposters while eroding trust in law enforcement. Well, what did you expect when you let them wear masks? Of course, somebody was said, wait a minute, I can wear masks too and do some nefarious stuff just like they are. And they'll really know your ICE too because you're breaking the law somehow. A review of public reporting confirms 4 of the 5 cases described in the bulletin. One appears to have gone unreported, suggesting the FBI drew in part on internal law enforcement information. The document was first obtained by the Transparency Nonprofit Property of the People on August 7th. According to the FBI, 3 men in black vests entered a New York restaurant claiming to be ICE agents. Inside, they tied a worker's hands and pulled a garbage bag over the person's head. Another, believing the burglar's story, surrendered themselves only to be kicked to the ground and tied up as the intruders robbed an ATM. The Bureau's advisory urges agencies at every level of government to coordinate to verify legitimate versus non-legitimate operations attributed to ICE. Well, it's all non-legitimate operations, actually. A call that frames the wave of impersonations as a national law enforcement concern. The FBI declined to comment. Gee, I wonder why. Right, too busy defending his girlfriend there. Its national press office said that it could only respond to media inquiries involving national security. There's that word, those phrases again. Violations of federal law or essential public safety functions during the government shutdown. Cases cited by its advisory span kidnapping, street crime, and sexual violence. In Bay County, Florida, the advisory says a woman unzipped her jacket and revealed a shirt that said ICE and told her ex-boyfriend's wife she was there to pick her up before driving her to an apartment complex. The woman later escaped. In Brooklyn, it alleges a man told a woman he was an immigration officer and directed her to a nearby stairwell where he punched her, tried to rape her, and stole her phone before police caught him. In Raleigh, North Carolina, it claims a man entered a motel room and threatened to deport the woman if she did not have sex with him. Telling her he was a sworn officer, he showed her a business card with the badge, police said. Yeah. The FBI describes a few signs of impersonation. That's forged or mismatched credentials, or no credentials at all, outdated protective gear, and cloned vehicle markings. It's urging agencies to launch outreach programs aimed at identifying fake ICE agents, a step the FBI argues could counteract the mistrust caused by impersonators and strengthening law enforcement's image. Or you could just remove the ICE officers. That might help. There'd be less bullshit. A senior ICE official tells Wired anyone caught impersonating themselves as a federal immigration agent will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Wink, wink, wink. Ow. I hurt my eye winking so hard. Impersonating a federal immigration officer endangers public safety and erodes trust in law enforcement, but it still fuels the mistrust and fear that they so want. So that's why they're not really going after him that much. So federal rules require immigration officers to identify themselves. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Why are they wearing masks then? And state the reason for an arrest as soon as it is practical and safe to do so. So when is it practical and safe? The standard has not changed since it was codified in the 1990s, yet advocates say it is increasingly ignored. The recent increased presence of armed mass federal officers completely disrupts and erodes public trust in law enforcement, says Alicia Castillo of the Texas Civil Rights Project. Further, the increase in local cooperation with federal authorities through 287G agreements has led to a chilling effect on local law enforcement for communities, she said, referring to a program that deputizes local police to act as immigration agents. When mass federal agents conceal their identity and authority as a practice, anyone can don a mask and a gun and not be expected or required to verify their authority, she adds. Exactly. So, yeah, so there it is. Of course, everybody knew that was going to happen.
Well,
Right?
I was just talking about, I think it was last week, every single women's self-defense class, women be safe class says, do not trust somebody when they say that they are law enforcement. You ask to see their credentials. You can call 911. If somebody tries to stop you in an unmarked car, call 911 for your car and have them send out a marked car. All of this. And this has all gone out the window with these goons.
Yeah.
And the thing is that they're saying, well, the FBI is admitting a problem here. The federal government is admitting, one branch, one agency of the federal government is admitting that there is a problem here. But I would also point out that a lot of the mistrust could have been avoided. That genie's out of the bottle at this point, but it could have been avoided had these folks not behaved so reprehensibly.
Mm-hmm. And look at
They're blaming that they're blaming the petty criminals that are doing this stuff, and what they're doing is very wrong. And don't misunderstand me; what they're doing is horrendously wrong. But at the same time, the bulk of the blame here has to go on ICE itself.
Right. Yeah. And look who they're hiring for ICE too. They ain't exactly the cream of the crop. As far as people psychologically are concerned, a lot of these people were bullied or were bullies themselves, and now this is a chance to make 50 grand and serve the community, when in reality we all know what they're really serving. So yeah, so it's ongoing. These and I think there's a was it in Portland? They've got they've got a legal defense against them trying to bring the National Guard into Portland. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. And here in Chicago too, our people, we're a hardy people here. We don't put up with no buffoonery like that. That's for sure. So is there more funding for women and children? I would like to think so. With the shutdown, who knows? as the Trump administration quietly funds some nutrition aid for low-income moms and babies. So the Trump administration quietly readied $450 million on Friday to fund a nutrition program for low-income mothers and infants as the government shutdown drags on, according to two people familiar with the decision. Officials pulled the extra money from a fund of unused tariff revenue for USDA child nutrition programs just before the Special Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program for Women, Infants, and Children, also known as WIC, was set to run out of money on the 1st. It's the second time the administration has tapped the Section 32 fund to keep those benefits afloat after announcing a $300 million emergency cash infusion last month. USDA did not immediately respond to a request for comment. WIC delivers tailored nutrition, infant formula, and breastfeeding support to nearly 7 million people. The new funds are estimated to last between 2 to 3 weeks, but may run out more quickly due to growing caseloads and other factors. The $300 million the Trump administration previously sent states supported the program for roughly 2 weeks. $300 million for just 2 weeks. Yikes. We really don't know how long this will last, said Allie Hard, policy director for the National WIC Association, which represents WIC providers. Every state is in a slightly different situation. While $150 million is an average of weekly program costs, the reality is that costs vary significantly by state and by week within the month. Separately, the Trump administration agreed Monday to use a USDA contingency fund to partially pay for the nation's larger anti-hunger initiative, SNAP, in response to a judge's order after benefits lapsed for the first time in history over the weekend. But in the same filing, officials said they wouldn't tap Section 32 tariff money like they're doing for WIC to help fully fund SNAP benefits due to the significant differences between the amounts at issue. Yeah, at one you're talking about 150 million a week, so that's what, 600 million a month. With SNAP, I believe it's 8 billion a month for the nation, for like 40 something million. More families may seek out WIC in response to receiving only reduced SNAP benefits this month. Several states have been redirecting their own food funds for food aid and to support food banks as they attempt to backfill the loss of federal dollars. We're really concerned because we cannot make up for SNAP, Hard added. Even if families are eligible for both programs, we still can't cover that gap of what SNAP covers for groceries. So now people are turning to WIC in addition, as SNAP has run out. First time in history that SNAP wasn't funded, or in SNAP's history.
When I heard that they were going to stop WIC payments, I almost fell out of my chair. And apparently, they're going to be doing that. The thing is that eligibility for WIC is extremely narrow. It refers basically to pregnant or breastfeeding women and children under the age of 5. And the food that they're allowed to have under that program is also quite limited. There are certain brands, certain pack sizes, size of the package of the food, certain types of food. And one thing that I am concerned about is with the current, as you brought up last week, Uncle Warren, with SNAP, there's a domino effect. When the people can't buy food, the grocery stores may not have it. It could affect shipping, and that could affect the foods that are approved under WIC. If they don't get into the store because you have a smaller store that really can't be bringing stuff in, that could affect the availability of foods that even people do have the benefits for in some small areas. Not so much, I think, in Chicago, but in some areas that could be a real issue. And again, relatively small segment of the population is eligible for WIC benefits.
Yeah, and well, there may be some hope for the SNAP benefits. Maybe,
but there's conflicting messages.
Right. So the White House says it'll partially fund SNAP benefits after Trump threatens to withhold them until shutdown ends. Yeah, he forgot that a lot of his constituents are on EBT themselves, white people in the
Mhm.
South. Yeah. The White House said Tuesday it would follow through on plans to partially fund critical food aid during the government shutdown, despite Trump's threat just hours earlier that he would withhold the federal assistance. Not a good idea. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt told reporters that she had spoken with Trump and that the administration would be fully complying with a court order to keep some SNAP benefits flowing. Shouldn't have to comply with a court order, you should just do it. We're getting that partial payment out the door as much as we can and as quickly as we can, Levitt said of the program, which is more commonly known as SNAP or food stamps. Trump sparked widespread confusion earlier Tuesday when he appeared to abruptly reverse course on the administration's funding plan. We'll let Buzzy McBuzzy go by there for a second. You having a good time? How are the kids? Fine. Oh, now you're leaving? I'll see you in hell. Trump sparked widespread confusion early Tuesday when he appeared to abruptly reverse course on the administration's funding plan, writing on Truth Social that SNAP will be given only when those radical left Democrats open up the government, which they can easily do and not before. Yeah, he could totally fund that. Anyway, that move would have left millions of people without the monthly federal assistance they rely on to purchase food and sparked a fresh legal showdown. More than 24 states and a coalition of cities, nonprofits, unions, and small businesses sued in separate cases last week to force the administration to keep at least some of the aid flowing. This is immoral. See you in court, Sky Perryman, the CEO of Democracy Forward, a legal organization involved in the coalition's lawsuit that also sought continuation of the SNAP benefits, wrote on the tweeters in response to Trump's post. The administration is tapping into roughly $5 billion contingency fund to support partial benefits into November. The Department of Agriculture, which oversees SNAP, issued guidance earlier Tuesday to states for distributing the partial payments. Nearly 42 million Americans receive SNAP benefits, which amount to roughly $350 per household per month on average when paid out in full. The USDA last month said it could not pay November's benefits, but you can pay $1 trillion defense budget, can't you there, Bob? Citing concerns over whether it could legally use the contingency fund or move money from other accounts. But the courts ruled that the government must tap into the contingency fund to pay partial benefits and could shift other money to enable it to fully pay the more than $8 billion in benefits as well as other costs. And Trump himself previously indicated he had instructed the administration's lawyers to ask the courts how it could legally fund the benefits as quickly as possible. If we're given the appropriate legal direction by the court, it will be my honor to provide the funding, just like I did with military and law enforcement pay, he wrote Friday. Notice they got theirs first. The administration ultimately opted to use a contingency fund to pay out the partial benefits. And then this goes on with the amount of benefits and stuff. But basically, yeah, it's still just sad that, like I said, jokey, we can have $1 trillion defense budget, but we can't feed 42 million people. Make it make sense.
Yeah. And it one of the things that is just insidious, I just read that the Department of Agriculture has issued a memo to grocery stores saying, do not offer any discounts to SNAP recipients. So apparently, I guess some grocery stores that accepted SNAP benefits, realizing that some of the benefits were going to be delayed, or they were being cut in half for some people this month, we're saying, okay, we're going to give you a special discount to help you out. And
Right.
the Department of Agriculture says you can't do that. That's just cruelty. The cruelty, as one journalist said, the cruelty is the point here. And
Yeah,
these are independent businesses. These are businesses that are making a decision. They're not requiring these businesses to give discounts. They're just saying they're saying you can't do it, even if you want to.
that's ridiculous,
Some of the
right?
worst I've ever seen. The worst I've ever seen. And the other thing is that, for example, there are farmers markets around the country, and it's a program with SNAP, but they'll double or triple your SNAP benefits at a farmer's market. To make fresh food, local food affordable. There are also programs saying, like in Chicago, if you have a SNAP card, you can get discounts to local cultural institutions, museums, and that sort of thing. And now I'm wondering if the USDA is going to come down on that. This is mind-boggling, and they're doing it in November. Thanksgiving is coming up very soon. This is
Yeah.
intentional. And when you consider also that the FAA is having problems, and the Federal Transportation Administration, they're having these issues right now. It's almost as if they just are deliberately trying to spoil Thanksgiving for everybody.
Yeah, it seems like it. That was a good segue, by the way. Part of the U.S. airspace could be closed if the government shutdown continues, warns the feds. I know it's going to be planes, trains, and automobiles, right? Those aren't pillows. Transportations, if you know, you know.
We got a pillow story coming up too.
Yeah, we do. It all comes together full circle.
It all comes together here at the Undercurrent.
Full pillow.
Full pillow.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warned Tuesday the U.S. might be forced to close some airspace if air traffic controllers miss a second full paycheck next week and the government shutdown continues, because you know what the air traffic controllers are doing. Oh, I don't know, boss. I think I got
the sniffles, Uncle Warren.
I have the leprosy of the tonsils. Yeah, don't think I can make it in, boss. Duffy, who blamed the shutdown on Democrats, sure, at a news conference explained many controllers said they can afford to miss one paycheck, but none can manage missing two. Some of these people doing like Uber and stuff too, trying to make ends meet. We told you about that last week, I think. So if you bring us to a week from today, Democrats, you will see mass chaos, he said. You will see mass flight delays. You'll see mass cancellations. And you will see mass Sabbath live at the Civic Center this Saturday night. With special guest Crocus. Sorry. You'll see mass cancellations. You may see us close certain parts of the airspace because we just cannot manage it because we don't have the air traffic controllers. We got plenty of space. We just don't have enough people to control said space. The secretary maintained the nation's airspace must remain safe, but the shutdown has injected more risk into the system. What also concerns me, people always ask me, is the system safe? Not like, how are the kids doing, or is your wife still cheating on you? No, they're asking if the system's safe. And I would tell you, yes, the system is safe. And if it wasn't, we would shut it down, the secretary said. We delay flights to cancel flights if we don't have enough controllers to effectively and safely manage our skies. So less planes in the air, like you just don't care. Flight delays and cancellations have risen significantly at airports nationwide, including in Chicago. That's here since the shutdown began more than a month ago. Aviation analytics firm Cirium said flight data showed strong on-time performance at most major U.S. airports for the month of October. But on Thursday, a broader slowdown was reported as many major airports saw below average on-time performance. So the FAA said in a post on Tweeters Friday evening that nearly 50% of major air traffic control facilities we're experiencing staffing shortages, and nearly 9% of air traffic controllers were out at the New York area facilities. That's crazy. And he said travelers will start to see more flight disruptions the longer controllers go without a paycheck. Yeah, you got to pay the, PTL. Remember, pay the lady? PTTC, PTTC, I guess, pay the traffic controller. Yeah, because that's what they did last time. They didn't get paid during the last shutdown. Then they were like, "Oh, sleeping time. I don't think I can make it work today, boss, for reasons. Bye." Click, and then they don't show up. Would you fly?
Yeah.
Would you? I mean, would you?
I'm gonna have to. I'm flying out tomorrow morning. We'll see what happens.
You should take the choo-choo train. Just take a choo-choo train.
There isn't a choo-choo train from here to
what?
Chicago. I think I'd have to go into Little Rock.
There is now. Yeah, you got to go to Little Rock. Yeah, if we had better train infrastructure in this country.
Yeah, I wouldn't have the problem. I like trains, choo-choo. I mean, I like looking out the window and stuff like that. It's very relaxing.
Yeah, it really is. And you get to get up and stretch around and stuff like that. On a plane, you're just kind of, you're still trapped in all that air and stuff. And I don't know. Yeah, and you don't have midair train crashes. You have head-on crashes, but you seem to have more of the plane variety. And even before the shutdown, we were talking about this. You remember there's been some plane messing uppery going on recently. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think?
Well, that just happened yesterday. That tragic with the UPS cargo plane, and everybody was in a shelter-in-place order, and it was devastating. I'm heading out tomorrow morning. We'll see what happens, Uncle Warren. I hope to see you when I'm in town.
I shouldn't even mention this. This is probably a horrible thing to mention right before you fly out. I'm sure I'm already sending positive vibes to your plane. Magic fairy dust and all that good stuff. Hopefully not too much to where it affects the air currents around it. We'll get you here, Laney. Meanwhile, bad segue as Pentagon.
Oh, Lord.
How do we get out of this? Backing up. Too much mud. Oh, here we go. WHEW. Turn that radio station to WHEW. Whew. Pentagon announces new press corps filled with conservative news outlets. What do you think about that?
As we reported on, the Pentagon has now said, you have to toe the line or you can't be part of the press corps. Most legacy news outlets said no, and we've got stuff. We've got a whole new press corps, including
yeah, you knew that was going to happen too. There was going to be that void filled with all these sycophants that are trying to get in there. Yeah. Several conservative news outlets said Wednesday they had agreed to a new press policy rejected by virtually all legacy media organizations and will take their place in the Pentagon to cover Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the U.S. military. The new Pentagon press corps will include the Gateway Pundit, the National Pulse, Human Events, podcaster Tim Pool, the Just the News website founded by journalist John Solomon, Frontlines by Turning Point USA, and Lindell TV, run by My Pillow CEO Mike Lindell. That's the only one who gets to report on your government. I
all that pillow talk.
Oh, indeed. Pillow talk, indeed. Let us dream of how we screw the American people. See, because they were dreaming. It's pillow. The Pentagon's announcement came less than a week after dozens of reporters from the outlets like the New York Times, the AP, CNN, and the Washington Post turned in their access badges rather than agree to a policy the journalists say will restrict them to covering news approved by Hegseth. Hegseth's spokesman Sean Parnell announced the next generation of the Pentagon press corps with more than 60 journalists who had agreed to the new policy. He said 26 journalists who had previously been part of the press corps were among the signees. The department wouldn't say who or any of them were, but several outlets reposted his message on Twitter saying they had signed on. There isn't even unanimity among organizations that appeal to conservative consumers. Fox News Channel, by far the most popular news source for fans of President Donald Trump, was among the walkouts, as was Newsmax. What? In a post on the Twitter.
Yeah.
Newsmax, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Newsmax is Fox News's tail. You can't go anywhere without the tail. In a post on the tweeters, Parnell denounced the self-righteous media who chose to self-deport from the Pentagon. Self-deport. Americans have largely abandoned digesting their news through the lens of activists who masquerade as journalists in the mainstream media, Parnell wrote. We look forward to beginning a fresh relationship with members of the new Pentagon Press Corps. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure there's not going to be any tainted or slanted information coming out of there, right, Lainey? I'm pretty sure it's going to be 100% top shelf, right?
Top shelf pillows.
You got the Pillow Network in there. He's like, I like pillows and I like our military. Guess what? We use the pillows in the military too. Hey! That's why Daddy can't stop with the drinking. Just keeps on drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking. Anyway, we have radio stuff. What are we calling this?
We got a lot. This is the press pool.
The press
we have
pool.
our own press pool over here at the Undercurrent.
That's
and
right.
Ellen was who's been watching us over on Facebook. Thank you so much. Turned me on to this story, which kind of follows up on what's been going on with the defunding of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and the fact that so many public stations are not getting the funds that they were previously getting. In this case, there was a station in Alabama that has cut its NPR news. Now, it will continue, I guess, to have local news, but it will no longer have a national news program. And this has implications for these smaller public stations that don't have a huge amount of money and are having to make tough choices about their programming. And so when you have a station like this where people can't get national news, they can still get local news and still get other programming on that station, which is fantastic, but they're missing a fairly big component of why people tune into public or news talk radio. Is because they want to get both national, they want to get national, international, and local news in one place. And
quickly, this is WLHR out of WLRH. I'm sorry, out of Huntsville, 89.3 FM.
Yeah. Ellen had suggested on Facebook the possibility of some left of center podcasters who might be willing to help fill the void there. Some people have said, well, they've got a board of governors that they have to work with. But I wanted to get this is a real life demonstration of what happens with these cuts and how a not-for-profit, non-commercial public station can be undermined because they can't offer the kind of national news coverage that people want, which would some people might turn to streaming, some people might turn to other stations, but it does undermine that option or that availability of local of getting from all your news from one station.
Yeah, I think we had talked about this too, about certain stations that that's all the community has is that station. That's where they get their news. That's where they get probably some of their entertainment, some in these very rural areas, right? And when they lose the funding like that, then that community loses out as well. So
yeah, it is It is a real concern, and it undermines that kind of coverage in those areas. And if you look at NPR's got some great programming. I've had my complaints about them in the past, but I really do think that they do some great stuff, and that's going to be denied to that community. And again, no national news. They're going to have to figure out something for national news, or people are going to be going elsewhere.
Yeah, and that would be a big chunk too, because local radio has emerged as America's most trusted news source.
It has.
Gee, wait, let me put two and two together. So they're trying to get rid of these
I
stations by
mean,
defunding them, and then oh, look at this. Isn't it funny how that works together like that?
yeah, people really do rely on it. And was reporting that Elon Musk was removing all radio from his new vehicles. There has been, an ongoing attempt to keep AM radio in car dashboards by requiring
Mhm.
it. And it's gotten a lot of bipartisan support, but it keeps on getting stalled. And now, of course, with the shutdown, who knows what's going to be happening there? Does it matter? Yeah, Car Talk. Car Talk was a great show. Um,
Freaking frack.
yeah, they were amazing. Public radio does a lot of stuff, and again, local radio I think is incredibly important. But if people want news, they want news from all over, and they would like to have one space for it. And we know, again, that people do trust local news, their local news stations. They want it's that voice. I think that people the power of audio is really significant, and people form relationships with the announcers on their local stations, many of whom are living in their communities. And so I thought this was a fascinating thing that people actually trust local news radio over television, national radio, and social media.
Yeah, social media I could kind of understand
Well,
trusting
yeah,
it more
social
because
media.
there's so much there's so much poison in that water. But yeah, breaking the national radio and TV propaganda is what's huge, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing it less funded, is because it tells more of the truth to their neighbors and friends in those communities as
Well,
well.
they have
So
to face their neighbors and friends.
yeah,
They
they
have,
got to live with them.
they've got to live there. And if and again, people, I think if you live in an urban area, if you grew up in an urban area, as I did in Chicago, your radio stars are a little bit more distance, although they still come out to live events. But if you're local, and if you're talking about the rural areas, these smaller areas, yeah, these are the folks, their kids go to your schools.
Yeah.
You'll see them in the street. They're at your church,
Hmm. Yeah.
and there is
Eh,
that trust there.
right. It goes back to having police in your neighborhood. If the police are from that neighborhood versus if they're from somewhere else. Again, they know if they're from that area, or if they're familiar with the area, they know the area, and they know what the area's needs are, whereas these other people don't. These
Yeah.
outsiders, and we need more of that too. So yeah, it said that traditional radio remains America's most trusted mass medium, although its results place radio's overall trust at nearly 3 times that of social media. Like we said, that's kind of setting a low bar. The study showed nearly 80% consider radio very trustworthy or trustworthy, placing it slightly ahead of newspapers and more than 10 points above television and magazines. Yeah.
Mm.
So uh yeah, and people often forget that. Oh, AM radio. What, I thought that died out like years ago. It's like, no, it's still around and it's
No.
still very useful.
Yeah.
It's extremely useful. Now you had me put this in here. This was
Yeah, I wanted to show you this. Just when we're talking about what happens when media is not, people aren't paying much attention to it. I'm getting Google News alerts to my phone. This is what I got on Sunday. This was the news alert. I was
this
beginning to
past Sunday.
notice.
This
I
past
was
Sunday,
beginning to
right?
notice that Google was sending off alerts about news. And then when I would click on it, it was usually a couple of days old, and it was an AI summary on Google. All right. So it was a few days old. In fact, I remember on Saturday, November 1st, I was struggling. I was out and about. I was struggling to find out whether the SNAP benefits were being renewed or not, because I was getting conflicting bits of information everywhere. And when Google came in with a notification about this, it turned out it was just an AI summary that had nothing to do with what was actually happening. Then on Sunday, I get this. Walter Payton did die at the age of 45 in 1999.
Yeah, 26 years ago.
26 years ago. And I get this informing me. Now, I don't know if this was because the Bears did miraculously win. I have no idea, but this is what happened to me. So as far as I'm concerned, and, mobile news alerts, which were useful at one point, have become useless. All they do is create anxiety and annoyance. And it's because these AI summaries, you go and you're trying to find news and you get an AI summary from somewhere. Well, the AI is just pulling old information. It's not a real human being. You know what I did? I turned on my radio.
Yeah. Did they tell you that just to make sure that Walter Payton was still dead?
Well, I turned on my radio actually to when I was getting the news about the SNAP benefits. I've actually been listening to the radio more than usual because it's the only place that I'm actually getting news from. Or I'm going to legacy media websites, like I will go to the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Economist or the Chicago Tribune, because I know there's an organization behind it and it's not just being summarized. The internet has become the internet, and what it has spawned with mobile news and alerts and social media has become completely useless to me.
Yeah.
When it comes to news. And that's why on this show, Uncle Warren, we give people our show notes, because we show them our sources so they can see what's going on and do the research for themselves. And we're real people.
Exactly. We're not AI like some of these people. As a new survey says, Americans want AI guardrails to protect local journalism. Right?
Yeah.
So last week at the NAB show, New York, new data was unveiled that shows an overwhelming majority of Americans are concerned about how artificial intelligence and big tech dominance are threatening the survival of local journalism. The national survey, released alongside a panel on the future of news, AI, new revenues and risks, and the policy response, found 3/4 of Americans are concerned about AI stealing or reproducing local news stories. An overwhelming 77% support Congress passing a law that would make it illegal for AI to steal or reproduce journalism and local news stories that are published online without permission or compensation.
Mm-hmm.
These concerns come at a moment when trusted journalism is more vital than ever. The survey results show only 26% trust information produced by AI, while 68% say it is not trustworthy. Local broadcasters provide fact-based news, emergency alerts, and community connection, but they do so under regulations written before the rise of streaming, social media, and AI. That outdated framework leaves stations unable to invest, grow, or compete on equal footing with global tech platforms that profit from broadcasters' content without producing any of their own. So, as Hearst Television Executive Vice President and NAB Television Board Chair Nick Radzul said during the panel discussion, big tech is so outsized and so disproportionately large, their influence and actions are gatekeepers to the content we all produce, that if Congress doesn't step in, I'm not sure there's a solution in any other way that comes in time to, frankly, save local news producers.
Yeah.
Americans agree. According to the survey results, 72% believe the federal government should place guardrails on AI to protect consumers. The public is clear in their desire for trustworthy news and AI oversight. Americans want local journalism to survive. Policymakers must work to ensure the proliferation of AI doesn't come at a cost of the local broadcast news Americans trust the most. And we warn people, our friends and family and stuff, about using AI because sometimes AI is not correct.
Well, it's not correct, and instead, instead of it being a tool that a journalist can use and then evaluate with their professional skills, they're using AI just to do the reporting. What I think happened is that Walter Payton did die, I want to say on November 1st. And what may have happened is the AI was running around scraping up notable deaths on death anniversaries and
Mhm.
scraped that up, was using it for an entry on him, and then suddenly some algorithm got hit to trigger a news alert about his death, even though it had happened 26 years ago. Now,
Right.
anybody with half a brain could have caught that, but they turned it into news that was not news. And Desert Manis is talking about here. There was a fake death reported several weeks back when reportedly Ian Gillan, Deep Purple vocalist, I think he was also a Jesus Christ superstar. He was in the original Broadway cast, or was in the Broadway cast for that, and may have even been with Black Sabbath for a bit. It was fake. He died. He was fake news. I saw the alleged death report on Yahoo News. Yeah, exactly. You've got something that's going. Either somebody is starting a rumor. Now, this did happen when Tom Petty died. Rolling Stone wanted to be first to the news and jumped the gun, reported his death, and were thoroughly chewed out by Tom Petty's daughter on what was then Twitter. And that's awful. Should never, ever, ever happen. Um, but this is the kind of thing that is going to continue to happen if you've got a bot going around scouring information, gets its words mixed up, and then feeds something with nobody even bothering to check it. I've used AI in reporting and in doing my work. It can be a very useful tool, but it certainly is not going to should be trusted to be its own journalist.
Right, exactly. A tool, definitely. I like to use it as kind of like an advanced search tool for basically
Mhm.
technical stuff. If I'm looking for a particular solution to a particular problem on my computer, for example, I will look that up. And sometimes it'll say, "Oh yeah, well look here under this," and it's, "Oh, it's not under this. Oh, my mistake. Oopsies. I meant to say," and it's like, "Oh, see, so that's why you shouldn't." Yeah, use it as a guiding tool, but don't trust it 100% because even the AI is wrong. So,
It's a tool. Yeah. It's
right.
a tool. You're a person. We developed these thumbs here for a purpose, to use tools.
I use mine for hitchhiking, but nobody wants to pick me up, and I don't blame them. So many news consumers are uneasy about AI, and they bring that discomfort and often distrust into how they view the use of AI in journalism. New trusting news research, I believe that's this thing, confirms that reality audiences are skeptical, cautious, and in some cases firmly opposed to AI being used in news content. Well, particularly if it's an indicting kind of news story, whereas fingers can be pointed at people in criminal cases, and you got an AI picture of the subject, right? Or you have
Mhm.
like maybe you know how you have the artist rendition. They'll look for somebody. Now you're going to have the artist rendition, but you probably have it pushed out to AI to get a better view of this person, and you might accidentally incriminate the wrong person or something like that. There are always those things, those safeguards that people need to worry about. So how can journalists be transparent about their use of AI in a way that doesn't lose and maybe even builds audience trust? So, says our research and newsroom experimentation offer both caution and opportunity. Most people want AI use disclosed, but disclosure alone doesn't guarantee trust. That's true. You can say, "Well, I'm using AI," and then that may backfire, and then they don't trust anything you do, even the non-AI stuff. In fact, some news consumers expressed less trust after learning that AI had been used, even when the AI use disclosure included details they said they wanted. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a trust kit that I found. I put it out here for a resource, particularly
Yeah.
anybody else who's in this space who wants to be able to use this for education, and also people to educate themselves.
Yeah, and we'll have the list will be in the Substack too,
Yeah.
as far as
And,
like within this article here. So listen and engage with your audience about AI use. Kind of sounds like a parent. Talk to your children about AI use.
yeah.
Uh, Disclosure and transparency are essential, and in-story disclosures are not enough. Commit to ethical use of AI. Invest in educating your community about AI and the risks there. So listen, be transparent, be ethical, learn how your audience feels about journalists using AI, be transparent about your use of AI, how to educate your audience about AI. I know sometimes my audience wishes that I was AI, and that would be a step up in my shows. So less than a third of Americans say they trust AI. That'll grow.
Yeah,
Don't you
really.
think?
I
As
think
time
we
goes,
can have like a running bet on the percentage of Americans who trust ICE and the percentage of Americans who trust AI, and we can see which one grows faster.
mm, I know ICE has got a long way to go. They to catch up to AI. So yeah, and this context is important as journalists in the news industry decide how to move forward. Yeah, you need, especially if you're using audios and visuals in your journalism, and if you're doing like a recreation, like sometimes you'll do a recreation of a scene or something like that, like with the Charlie Kirk stuff. There's people making these AI, uh, you know, uh, remaking the scene and that sort of thing, not just for that, but for other things where there's some sort of reenactment. Maybe it's a plane crash or something like that. You're going to see more of that kind of stuff. It's the thing that bothers me is once you start getting interviews from people that look very, very real, but oh no,
Yeah.
or they look like other really real people, and they're not, and they're saying something that this really real person said, and
Well,
I don't
and the
know.
other thing that's going to be easier to do, ironically, on radio because you're not actually looking at something where you can there can be some
Right.
more tells. Voices may not always, can be I think more easily uh,
Yeah.
duplicated.
It yeah. And even then it's going to get to a point like you're going to have tools now I think that can listen to audio to see if it's been edited or not, like edited recently on that format that it's on. But even then it's going to get to the point we're not going to visually we're not going to know, and audio wise we're not going to know either. And then you're going to see audio and video stuff being struck from courtroom scenes because they don't they won't be able to trust their lying eyes, as they say.
Well,
uh,
I will say there may be a silver lining here, Uncle Warren, for some of it for our smaller creators and some of these local news stations and whatnot. When video first became something that people could do back in like 2008, 2009 on the internet, it wasn't very good.
right.
Wasn't very good. And I was part of a project. It was a online shopping experience and they wanted I was a blogger at the time and they wanted us to be doing video content showing these products and they said actually um, the more unprofessional the video looks the better because it looks more authentic and that changed over time but it may be that we're going to see a throwback to that
Mm-hmm.
where just folks like you and me just getting up here and we've put together our rigs and are doing this on our own we maybe start to be perceived as being more authentic the same thing with local radio and television stations that are independently owned that don't have huge budgets or these weekly local newspapers that sort of thing may find that people are more likely to trust something that is not so slick anymore.
Yeah. So if you're a poor editor or something, you the future looks bright for you.
Sort of.
More or less. Yeah.
Sort of.
Production values, no, you don't want those. That'll make you look fake. You want to make it look real. Uh well, let's end things on a high note.
Yes.
Well, even though he's dead, it's not pretty a high note for Ozzy. But so Ozzy, the big dramatic buildup. Ozzy Osbourne pumpkin mosaic breaks Guinness World Record. So here it is right here. Now I need to, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's try this. We're going to go over here, and here's where it is. Look at that. So that's Ozzy, and they're using all these gourds and pumpkins and stuff to make his face. There's no audio to this because you don't really need audio of pumpkins. Do you really?
No, I don't need to listen to pumpkins.
I don't know.
I mean, there's the Smashing Pumpkins, but
There we go. That's what I was waiting on. The Smashing Pumpkins. See, now look at they. So like they do with the Skittles too. They'll make these Skittle mosaics. You ever seen those? That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Look at this. Look at all this. Look at this hard work and love and effort. Kind of looks like a fat Jim
Ozzy
Morrison
Ozzy was always out of his gourd.
but oh, what a little pumpkin. And there it is there. So we go back here. And so British Farm celebrated the life of legendary rock singer Ozzy Osbourne by breaking a Guinness World someone probably drinking Guinness World Record. Guinness World Record with a massive squash mosaic in the musician's image. Sunnyfields Farm in Southampton, England, arranged hundreds of pumpkins and squashes into an image of Prince of Darkness measuring 2,281 square feet. They are definitely out of their gourd. The end result earned the Guinness World Record for the largest Cucurbita mosaic image. Never heard of that. The mosaic was unveiled at a ceremony attended by Osbourne's wife, Sharon, and daughter, Kelly. Osbourne, the lead singer of legendary metal band Black Sabbath, died July 27th at the age of 76. But his pumpkin will live on. His pumpkin will live on. This is how we'll remember him.
It will.
Gourds, not Gourds Gold by Gordon Lightfoot. See, that's Gourds Gold. Get it? That's gold. I need more whiskey in that coffee. That's it. That's all the show we have provided for you on this blessed day. Today's November 5th. Remember the 5th of November. Remember?
Indeed. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. I remind you, if you're watching on Extra Bullet, thank you so much. We also have the Undercurrent channel on YouTube. If you could subscribe to that, we'd really appreciate it. Also, checking out our Linktree, have all of our socials on here, as well as ways for you to get in touch with us. With story suggestions, we would love to absolutely hear from you. And if you are at all interested in suggesting an interview subject or anything like that, please feel free to contact us. You can contact us through Gmail. We also have a Proton Mail account for additional security. And you can also subscribe to our Substack, and you will get a list of our show notes every week.
We were giving away the free knives, but then we found out we didn't have any free knives. And there's like some sort of safety thing. So sorry, no blades. We can't give you stuff to cut us with. That's something you'll have to find on your own, my friends. You can find me Friday. I'll be doing Newsy News 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Specific time on YouTube, Rumble, and the Book of Faces. No, there will be no secret show this weekend. So don't even plan on it. Do something fun with your lives on Saturday night besides spend it with me. Just this one night. Next week, you better be back because,
we all love Uncle Warren's secret show.
I get lonely. And then
Well,
sometimes,
you did a double header last week with the Night of the Living Dead. That was fun.
yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed doing that with my buddy Chuck, Chuck the Alien, and we did a little Timu MST3K.
It was great. It was awesome.
Yeah, so the kids seem to dig it. So thanks for coming out and all the support and all that stuff. And then yeah, so Friday we'll be doing morning extra, and then back Tuesday for morning extra, and of course this show next week, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Any final thoughts there, Lainey, before we get out of here?
I wish everybody a peaceful week. Please be safe. Please be looking out for your neighbors, whether they're running away from ice or whether they're trying to scrape up pennies to buy food. Do what you can for folks, please.
Yeah, 'tis the season. It's always the season, but particularly this time of year, if you can help somebody out too, that would be great. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time, folks. Peace.
All right, take care. Peace out. Bye bye.